Anybody who has an interest in tarot cards and tarot readings always wants to know how you can practice, especially in the beginning, because you can only ask your friends a certain number of times, but you want to get better at reading cards and making sense of them. And so this is a variation on an idea or a suggestion that somebody sent me. And what you do is, there's 2 steps. Step 1 is you figure out the question. Now, I could have asked something that relates to me, something personal, but it's not that I don't want to tell you, but you're going to be bored because, what's going on with me is really, not a great deal of interest to you. Whereas, if you try this for yourself, then by all means think of a personal question. So my question is, what is the tarot? And I think, depending on what I get here and so on, what you get, I think it's a legitimate question, it's a valid question, and the information that I get may be helpful to you or maybe of interest to you. So the first thing you do is you've got the question, and you go through the cards face up, and you get an idea of what card you think is part of the answer to that particular question. And so what's the tarot? Is it the Queen of Swords? Maybe if the tarot gives you strict, harsh answers, it's the Queen of Swords. But somehow I want to go through and I want to find the High Priestess, because I think the tarot is the High Priestess. Because it's feminine and it's female and it's private and it's to be respected. And if you think about the High Priestess, if I can find her in here, there she is. Okay, so somehow I think the High Priestess represents a tarot. She's got the Book of Wisdom on her lap, for instance, and she's inside, and it's quiet, it's meditative, it's serious, it's specialized knowledge. She's studied, she's worked hard at learning what it is that she has to learn. She's wise, so she's going to give you good information or wise answers to the question, whatever it happens to be that you ask. So I think, what is a tarot? I wouldn't be surprised if the High Priestess came up, because in some way that's the answer to the question. What else? I just happened to pick this one. Maybe the Eight of Swords is what the tarot is as well, because perhaps that's us. And that's why we turn to the tarot in the first place. We feel stuck, we feel confined, restricted, we're unable to move, we don't know what direction in which to move. We can't see where we're going, things like that from this particular card. Maybe the swords represent the fact that people have had it in for us, or circumstances or conditions or life or other people want to damage us or want to put us in a position where we can't get out of it without the possibility of being cut, right? So it's as if you can do what you want to do, but it's not going to be smooth sailing or plain sailing. You maybe have to defend yourself or take precautions so that certain things don't happen. And that can be why people ask questions in the first place, because they're in a jam, or they're uncertain about how to proceed, and they want some kind of feedback on the best thing to do so they can move forward or move in a certain direction without causing damage to themselves, as you would get here. Because if you just stumble around blindly inside the sword, you can fall over, you can bang your knee or scrape your ankle or cut yourself, whatever it happens to be. So maybe the Eight of Swords is a good card for describing what the tarot is. Is it the Ace of Swords? Well, somehow not as obviously as the High Priestess. And so you go through the cards and you look at, and maybe it's the maybe it's the Eight of Buttons as well, because the tarot will often give you good. Well, it's always going to give you good information. Whether you enjoy the information or not is another question. But this is arrows reaching their goal, and so maybe the idea of good news is involved with the tarot as well. That you ask a question and you're going to get a positive reply most of the time anyway. And so maybe I could say that, okay, I can see how this could be the answer to the question, what is the tarot? Because part of what the tarot does is it does show people how to what kind of steps to take or what direction to go in so that you have a successful outcome for whatever it is that you want to do. So we could, that's step one. So you've got your question, you go through and you look at the cards and you maybe pick out 3 that seem to answer the question. Okay? And I think it's interesting, as it happens, that I've got the High Priestess here, and I happen to pick up 2 8s, the 8 of Batons and the 8 of Swords, which can be telling me something as well. Though at this point I'm not sure quite what. So that's step one, is you come up with, in some way, with an answer to the question, and then I'm just going to put these back. And then the second part of the exercise is to... I'm thinking past, present and future as well. 3 cards, right? Maybe I could duplicate, and I should put 1 card in the middle and 1 on either side, as I ended up with a moment ago. Although before I started filming, I had thought, I'm going to pick 3 cards, 1 for the past, 1 for the present and 1 for the future. Or 1 for, back then, right now, and what's coming up next. But I'm not going to do a full shuffle here, only because this is for demonstration purposes, but I will shuffle and cut quickly, and then I'll do this one more time. I would normally have taken longer to do this, but we should do it 3 times, only because that's the correct way. 2, 3, and so I've got that. And so what I'm going to do is spread these here. I'm going to do 1 here for the middle, and then I'm going to here and here, and then there's 1 for over this side, and here's 1 for that. So what is the tarot is the question, and the tarot is, first card is Judgment. So the tarot is a means for us to be freed from confinement and restriction, because you're not in a coffin any longer. And that's interesting because of that 8 of Swords that came up beginning. So if you're trapped, if you're confined, if you're restricted in any way, the tarot is a way of helping you decide or make a judgment or take action. Or because it's an angel, you're supposed to listen to the higher self, we could say. But it's not so much, I think, listening to, I think it's maybe a dual. 2 things going on. On the one hand, you're listening to the higher wisdom, the higher knowledge that is contained within the tarot itself. But you're also talking to your own deeper inner self that knows more. Maybe it's the conscious mind knows a certain amount. But people say that people can only handle or hold a maximum of 7 things in your mind at the same time. You can't remember. You can't hold 20 thoughts in your mind at the same time, but maybe your subconscious mind can. So on the one hand, we've got consulting a wise thing, which is the tarot itself, but you're also consulting your own inner subconscious mind, or the part of you that has a greater understanding of what life is about and what you're meant to do and how you're doing, and